When I saw the draw, I was like, wow, that's a tough first round, like second round for me, but she's a great player, and, this year some good things are happening. I'm beating players that I never beat before, so it means I'm on the right way, so yeah.
The crowd inside Design Center Linz had never seen anything like it. Filipinos, hundreds of them, who had crossed continents just to watch one player, chanting, flags, noise that had no business existing inside an Austrian tennis hall on a Wednesday night. And standing in the middle of all of it was Alex Eala, 20 years old, composed, moving across that indoor clay like she'd played here 100 times before, like the occasion meant nothing to her.
This was a massive spot to be in for such a young talent.
Ostapenko was watching from the other side of the net, 4th seed, 2017 French Open champion, the woman who won this exact tournament just 2 years ago. And she was watching Eala build a lead that was becoming genuinely embarrassing. Here's the thing nobody outside the Filipino tennis community wants to admit. Eala had already beaten this woman twice. The 2025 Miami Open, Eastbourne. Both times it wasn't even particularly close. She walked onto that Linz court, not as an underdog, but as the hunter. And for a long stretch of this match, Ostapenko went wild in the worst possible way. Then something shifted. Something nobody in that building saw coming. If this is your first time here and you love tennis, told from angles that actually matter, subscribe right now. Seriously. Because what happened next made Eala collapse in shock. Let's rewind to the moment the match actually broke open, because understanding what triggered Ostapenko requires going back to a specific stretch of tennis that was frankly humiliating for a former Grand Slam champion to experience. Second set. Eala up 5-1. The Filipino contingent in that Austrian hall had already started doing the math. One more game, maybe two, and their girl was through to the Linz Open quarterfinals on her very first appearance at this tournament. Ostapenko was double faulting, spraying errors. The aggressive flat ball striking that made her a French Open champion back in 2017 was producing nothing but unforced mistakes on this particular Wednesday night. 11 double faults across the entire match. That's not a bad day at the office, that's a player coming apart at the seams. Here's what that 5-1 scoreline doesn't tell you though. Ostapenko, at her lowest point, is still one of the most dangerous ball strikers on the WTA Tour. She doesn't rebuild gradually, she doesn't find her game slowly over several games. She finds it in a single point, one clean winner, one forehand that lands exactly where she intended, and then something behind her eyes changes completely. That's exactly what happened. Ostapenko held serve, then broke Eala, then held again, then broke again. From 1-5 down, she clawed to 5-5 in a stretch of tennis that shifted the entire emotional weight of that building. The Filipinos who had been celebrating went quiet. Not silent, but the energy changed. You could feel it even watching from outside the court. Eala was still competing, still fighting for every point, but something in her body language shifted when that 5-1 lead evaporated, and Ostapenko, who had looked broken 20 minutes earlier, was now playing like the seeded champion she actually is. This is where the title starts making complete sense. Eala's queen-like composure and dominance in that first hour didn't intimidate Ostapenko into submission. It did the opposite, it lit a fire. A player of Ostapenko's mentality, someone who came from nowhere to win Roland Garros as an unseeded 20-year-old in 2017, beating Simona Halep in the final, doesn't fold under pressure from a player ranked 46th in the world. She absorbs it, she gets angry, she goes wild. And when Jelena Ostapenko goes wild with intention rather than frustration, the result is almost impossible to contain. Eala made that happen. Her tennis in the first half of this match was so controlled, so precise, so genuinely threatening, that it forced Ostapenko to reach a level she hadn't touched in this match yet. That's the chain reaction the title is built on. Not a simple upset, not a routine comeback, a specific psychological trigger that turned a losing player into a completely different version of herself.
This is the goal
My goal is to be able to integrate myself into the WTA circuit more and to be able to handle myself better on the court.
Bolted into the spotlight last month after making the semifinals at one of the biggest pro tennis tournaments in the world.
Now let's talk about the final game. because this is where Eala's collapse became real and not just statistical. Serving at 5-6 in the second set, Eala got to 40-30. 1 point from forcing a tiebreaker, 1 point from taking this match to a third set where anything could happen. She had been in tight moments all match. In her first round win over Julia Grabber earlier that same day, she'd faced 10 break points and saved 9 of them. Her nerves under pressure were not the issue coming into that final service game, but Ostapenko didn't give her a moment to breathe. 3 consecutive points, not 3 lucky points. 3 points where the Latvians' returning was sharp, aggressive, and completely intentional. The last point of the match was the most brutal. Eala had done everything right to get to 40-30. And then Ostapenko simply erased it. The match ended 6-4, 7-5, and the scoreline made it look cleaner than it was. 74 points for Ostapenko, 68 for Eala. 6 points separated them across an entire match that swung wildly in both directions. That's the margin between a quarterfinal and a flight home. 6 points. What makes this result genuinely fascinating, rather than just a straightforward upset, is the context of where both players are right now in their careers. Eala came into Linz having won 15 of her first 23 matches in 2026, a semi-final in Auckland, quarterfinals in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, fourth-round runs at both Indian Wells and Miami, where she lost to Karolina Muchova, a former Wimbledon finalist. She is not a player who gets to these stages by accident. At 20 years old, she is building something real. Ostapenko, on the other hand, arrived in Linz at 9-8 for the season. Solid but unspectacular, her best. Result had been a semi-final in Doha, where she lost to Victoria Mboko. She'd reached the fourth round in Miami before falling to Hailey Baptiste, the same Baptiste who partnered her in that doubles win over Eala at Indian Wells just weeks earlier.
We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general.
Yeah.
I think having players like Alex out there, and she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world.
Coming into this clay swing, nobody was writing articles about Ostapenko being a genuine title contender anywhere. And yet, on the surface that suits her more than any other, against a player who had beaten her twice and was moving better than her for long stretches of the match, she found a way. That's what elite experience looks like when it finally activates. There's also a broader conversation worth having about what this loss means for Eala's clay season specifically. Both of her previous wins over Ostapenko came on hard court and grass. This was her first clay meeting with the Latvian, and it was also her first real test on dirt in 2026. The transition to clay always exposes something in a player's game. The slightly slower ball, the higher bounce, the way rallies extend beyond what a hard court player is comfortable with. Eala handled it well enough to lead 5-1 in the second set, but she couldn't sustain it when Ostapenko dialed up the aggression on a surface that genuinely suits the Latvians' flat, heavy hitting. Stuttgart is next, April 13th through the 19th. Another clay event, another opportunity to figure out whether Wednesday's result was a lesson or just a bad night. Given everything Eala has shown in 2026, the smart money is on lesson. As for Ostapenko, she moves into the Linz quarterfinals where she faces Elena Gabriela Rus of Romania, a player she leads 4-0 in their head-to-head. The draw is opening up in a way that gives the Latvian a genuine path to the title in a tournament she already won in 2024. Whether she can maintain the level she found in that second set comeback is the only real question. But none of that changes what happened on Wednesday night in Austria. A 20-year-old Filipino walked onto that court carrying a 2-0 record, a building full of her own people, and the kind of quiet confidence that makes experienced champions uncomfortable. She built a lead that should have been unassailable. She made Ostapenko go wild with frustration. And then that same wildness flipped, became something controlled and lethal, and it was Eala standing there in shock watching a match she had already half won disappear in the space of 40 minutes. That's tennis. Brutal, beautiful, and completely unpredictable. If you made it this far, you clearly love this sport as much as we do. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Eala bounces back at Stuttgart, or does this clay season get harder before it gets better? We read every single comment. See you in the next one.